Hello everyone, this is the Mythical Dragon here, and we are back in the Dragon's Den, and with it being the month of December, I figured we'd go through a few weeks of holiday stuff, and holiday topics, and I think that would be interesting, and I have to thank one of my Toastmaster friends, Ken Mark, for this topic today, because long story short, I'm the Vice President of Education at Core Development Toastmasters, and every first and third Tuesday of the month, our club doesn't have a formal meeting. We just sort of meet up to have a morning coffee, chats, and we do some coaching and supporting Toastmasters, that kind of deal basically for an hour. I will be missing this meeting coming up actually, so when this podcast comes out Tuesday, December 7th, I will not be making that meeting. Because I have to deal with a lot of apartment stuff. So I asked the club if they had any topics or articles they'd like to share with, their members, and they can read and discuss it in the meeting, just to have something to talk about. And Ken sent me this really great article, and it's very cute because it's a historical one too. It's from September 21st, 1897. So it kind of fits in with a little bit with unique history and also with the podcast, because we're going to talk about this outside of the article a lot more. But I thought it was really important for this time of this last couple of years, really, and what the whole world have been through. And I know Santa Claus doesn't exist in all cultures and histories and religion and faith, but I know some cultures have their own versions of it, and I'm sure everyone has their own kind of childlike thing that they can celebrate during this year. And I know for Hanukkah's the dreidel. I know there's a lot of importance around that, and I know kids like it, so for Jewish, of course, faith, and I know there's a few other kind of cool little things like that. I'm currently researching that for next week's episode. Hint, hint, wink, wink. We're going to talk about the holidays in a more general sense and break down why we celebrate each one. But for right now, we are talking about Santa Claus. Yes, Santa Claus. Now, I have a very funny story about how I found out Santa wasn't real. And I'm sure all of us have our own little stories and tales about how we found out that he wasn't a real thing or why he didn't exist. But I like this article. I think I'm going to read it out loud. And I'll explain a little bit why I like it and why it's very precious. And I think it's something we should encounter and use regularly. And kind of preserve. And I think that's the whole point of this podcast, is to preserve the joy of Santa Claus, the childlike wonder of it. And the existence of things like Santa Claus and love and devotion and like these concepts that we can't necessarily see, but we feel and we believe they're there. It's a very beautiful treasure. The words are hard right now, guys. It's I came home from work and I recorded at 3 a.m. Hello. But it's so precious, and I can't wait to share it. So the article is titled, "Yes, Virginia, There is a Santa Claus." So let me go through a little bit of the history here, a little description, and then we'll go into the actual editorial. 8-year-old Virginia O'Hanlon wrote a letter to the editor of New York Sun, and the quick response was printed as an unsigned editorial September 21st, 1897. The work of veteran newsman Francis Pharcellus Church has since become history's most reprinted newspaper editorial, appearing in part or whole in dozens of languages, in books, movies, and other editorials, on posters and stamps. So very infamous little article here, and very infamous person who's been attributed to this article. But let's give it a look. Let's read Virginia's little letter here. Dear Editor, I am 8 years old. Some of my little friends say there is no Santa Claus. Papa says, if you see it in the sun, it is so. Please tell me the truth. Is there a Santa Claus? Virginia O'Hanlon 115 West 95th Street. Okay, let's get into the actual article here. Virginia, your little friends are wrong. They have been affected by the skepticism of a skeptical age. They do not believe except they see. They think that nothing can be which is not comprehensible by their little minds. All minds, Virginia, whether they be men's or children's or little. In this great universe of ours, man is a mere insect, and ants, in his intellect, as compared with the boundless world about him, as measured by the intelligence capable of grasping the whole of the truth and knowledge. Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. He exists as certainly as love and generosity and devotion exist. And you know that they abound and give to your life its highest beauty and joy. Alas, how dreary would be the world if there were no Santa Claus. It would be as dreary as if there were no Virginias. There would be no childlike faith then, no poetry, no romance to make tolerable this existence. We should have no enjoyment except in sense and sight. The eternal light with which childhood fills the world would be extinguished. Not believe in Santa Claus? You might as well not believe in fairies. You might get your papa to hire men to watch in all the chimneys on Christmas Eve to catch Santa Claus. But even if they did not see Santa Claus coming down, what would that prove? Nobody sees Santa Claus, but that is no sign that there is no Santa Claus. The most real things in the world are those that neither children nor men can see. Did you ever see fairies dancing along the lawn? Of course not, but there's no proof that they are not there. Nobody can conceive or imagine all the wonders there are unseen and unseeable in the world. You may tear apart the baby's rattle and see what makes a noise inside, but there is a veil covering the unseen world which not the strongest man, nor even the united strength of all the strongest men that ever lived, could tear apart. Only faith, fancy, poetry, love, romance can push aside that curtain and view and picture the supernal beauty and glory beyond. Is it all real? Ah, Virginia, in all this world there is nothing else real and abiding. No Santa Claus, thank God he lives, and he lives forever. 1,000 years from now, Virginia, nay, 10 times 10,000 years from now, he will continue to make glad the hearts of childhood. What a precious little article. I'm sure most news people or news article writers, editorials, authors wouldn't take the time to necessarily do something like this, but the fact in 1897, this editor, this person was like, oh, this little girl is like going through so much, and there are people around her who are shaking her faith and trying to take away something that's good in this world. Let's give her that joy. Let's bring it back for her. And what a really brilliant way to do it. I love the way the author, of course, just kind of really alludes to, like, if there was no Santa Claus, then there'd be, like, no joy. There'd be no childhood. And I kind of agree. I know people may not believe in Santa Claus. If you listen to this and you don't believe in it, fair enough. But let's say you have a kid one day, or a child. Wouldn't you want them to have that imagination, that creativity, to believe in something that brings joy to the world, rather than crush their spirits at a young age, like 8 years old? No, I don't think we would. We want to make our kids happy. We want them to find joy in the simplest things, like a tooth fairy, Easter bunny, Santa Claus, a leprechaun, And I think we forget that sometimes, that kids absorb things very quickly, very well. And as soon as something or someone takes that away from them, then that's when the reality of the world sits in, and that's where we start to lose a little bit of that joy, that innocence, the imagination, the childhood. What other words did he say here? Devotion, beauty, poetry, romance. We start losing that. I mean, unless you're an English teacher like me and you find the beauty in articles like this, of course. But we don't want to do that to our kids. Not when they're that young. We want to try to keep that childlike innocence for as long as possible. I mean, there will be a time where you realize that your kid is surrounded by 30 other kids in a classroom, and maybe not a single one of those parents have told their kids about Santa, or they told them the truth about Santa, and your kid's the only one that still believes in it. That makes it very tricky. But then there's a better way to go about it than just having your kid hear about it from their friends, for example, like Virginia. But we're not going to go down that path. I think with the world being so chaotic right now, and things being so frustrating, annoying, heartbreaking, difficult, confusing, there's so much more right now of what's going on in the world. Many more emotions and feelings and adjectives to share, but what I like about this article and what it's given me is the sense of we need to capture joy whenever we can. We are entering the holidays, and I know there's such a multitude of holidays around this time of year, and I can't wait to actually share a lot of those with you in the next week's episode. But we really should take a look at what we are doing, how we are celebrating, and even if it's not the same as it used to be a few years back or a couple years back, still find some sort of little magical joy, little magical wonders wherever we can, to capture some sort of joy and happiness. Because as this author said, as soon as we start losing this, the most real things in the world become real, and then it gets harder and harder to capture that little innocence, that little spark of joy and laughter and love. And then we just get broken down, beaten down a little bit from life. I'll admit, until I read this article, I was pretty low. I have been struggling a lot. So there's been some chaos around the apartment I'm living in with bug treatments and them not coming on the day they're supposed to come, and dates being moved around, and then feeling unimportant to everyone, really. And just I started to really feel the weight of the world and how impossible and heavy it feels. But reading this article, it just made me smile, and makes me want to find that little wonder again. Find the little wonders that are unseen and unseeable in this world. That's what's mentioned in this article. And I wanted to share this with everyone here in the podcast, because you may be feeling down in the dumps as well. I know the holidays can also be very hard for people. But I think doing one little thing of joy, one little thing of good in this holiday season for yourself and for others, I think that'll help in many ways than one. For example, I've been eyeing this very cute little owl Christmas decoration at my work, and every time I walk by it, I keep telling myself I should get it, and then I give myself about 5 reasons why I shouldn't get it. I think after reading something like this article here, I'm gonna get it. It makes me happy. It's a Christmas decoration. It'll be brought out and put on a shelf every year, and Every time I look at it, it'll sparkle because it is actually kind of a shiny, glittery little owl. Every time I see it, it's just going to make me smile. And we need more of that in our lives. More ways and more moments for smiling. If it's looking at a quirky little decoration of an owl of all things, get it. If it's baking your favorite gingerbread snap cookies because you love them so very much, yeah, do it. Bring back a little bit of that tradition. Bring back a little of the things you missed from your childhood during the holidays. It'll be worth it. It will, yeah, of course, take you back to a simpler time, and who doesn't appreciate capturing those moments of an innocent time when we can? But it might also make the heaviness of life a little lighter, and you might be able to get through it a little bit easier if you do take some time and maybe pretend Santa's real for yourself in your household this year and do fun little gifts or fun little stockings or do something like that. But I still think, despite what's going on around the world right now, and a lot of us are still in places where cases are rising like crazy again, and we're probably not going to have a normal holiday either for a lot of us, taking a moment to find some of the little wonders out there that you haven't looked for or that you haven't thought of looking for, and taking the time to actually do so, whether it's buying a cute little owl decoration with a Santa hat on it, or baking your favorite desserts and treats, to watching someone's face light up as you give them a gift, or you make someone something. Going back to that kind of root of childhood, that kind of joy, the happiness, even if it's captured for just 1 minute, I think all of us would feel a little lighter. I think all of us would be more appreciative too of the little things in life, because yeah, even if it's a tiny little thing that you do or buy or write or make or bake, it'll still lift you up. And in the holiday season, that's what it's supposed to be like. You're supposed to feel a little bit lighter. You're supposed to experience the joy and the miracles that happen around you. And you're supposed to really feel the love, the devotion, and all the things you can't see, but you can feel. Like Santa Claus, poetry, romance, faith, lights, and all the other whimsical things out there that tend to escape and tend to run away from us as we get older. This is a short little one, a short little podcast episode, but I hope the message was clear and it's sweet. And I mean, going through this article again, I just really love it again. I really love it. All minds, Virginia, whether they be men's or children's or little, in this great universe of ours, man is a mere insect, an ant in his intellect as compared to the boundless world about him, as measured by intelligence capable of grasping the whole of truth and knowledge. I like that. It just means that there's so much out there. Our minds are but one tiny, tiny little piece of the universe, and there's so much more out there to explore. And I think we have to capture a little bit of that this year if we can in the holidays. Capture a little bit more of that wonder and find something different and new this year to do. Or try again maybe for the first time in 10, 20, 30 years. Who knows? Again, I like this line as well. He exists as certainly as love and generosity and a devotion exists. And you know that they abound and give to your life its highest beauty and joy. It's love, generosity, devotion. They give you your highest beauty and joy in life, and so does Santa. This little thing that was created, and the origins of Santa Claus are really great. It's a fun read. I recommend you look it up. But the way it's spread and the joy it gives to little ones, yeah, it is of the highest, simplest form of beauty and joy in life. And we need more of that for sure. Just very fun, very playful article, but one that carries such an important message for, the kids out there who have doubts about Santa, but I think even for us who are older, that as we grow up, we are going to experience life. It's gonna knock you down. The reality will be there, of course, always waiting. But you have to take those moments where you can look for something unseen and unseeable, something new, something different, recapture something that brings you joy, because moments of joy lately haven't existed. So if they haven't existed, they haven't been there, what do? You create them for yourselves. Create your own moments of joy. With that, I think I'll leave that as my ending message here for everyone in this holiday season. Whatever you celebrate, however you celebrate it, I really hope you take a moment to find a little bit of childlike wonder, a little bit of childlike joy, innocence, faith and beauty, love, romance, poetry, all of it. Find something like that this holiday season to lift you up, to lift someone else up, and to make the world just a little brighter and a little lighter. That is the end of the podcast. Thank you everyone for listening for this short little one, this one little one-off here. But this is a great way to start off the holiday theme for this month in this podcast. And it'll be an interesting week next week as we go through many celebrations this time of year. Hanukkah, there's Christmas, of course, then there's some pagan traditions out there that are really neat, and Nordic ones, and we're going to go through it all. I've got a list and I can't wait to share it with you. With that, I wish everyone a lovely week, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.